Good morning, everyone. We're going to wait just about a minute for other folks to join the session, and then we'll begin. Thanks for your patience. Twenty more seconds, and then we'll start. Good morning and welcome to this special session of Loc Worldwide 44, sponsored by the Localization Institute. My name is Alex Bernet and I am the manager of the masterclass programming at the Localization Institute. And I'm here today with Ulrich Henes, co-organizer of Loc World and the owner of Localization Institute. Hi Ulrich, how are you this morning?
Hey Alex, good to be up, and excited about day 2 of Localization World. I'm also thrilled to be able to talk about our master classes. We introduced them about a year ago, and they've been doing really well, very highly rated. I'm very pleased that people really feel they benefit from taking them. We got a new one that we will tell you about and show you an interview. And I am also very proud to announce we're adding a new type of class. We're calling them Ready, Set, Go. And different than a master class, which is typically 6 hours long, I asked some very high-level experts to compress the knowledge into about 2 hours. So it's like saying to them, I need to know everything about quality management. I have 2 hours. Tell me everything you know. And the one that we're going to launch it with is one called Global Navigation. We'll show you a number of bite-sized videos now that tell you more about the new classes.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, thanks, Ulrich. I'm really excited to be here and to introduce these videos. And we have 7 short videos with our instructors. So without further ado, let's get to our first interview. And for that, Ulrich is going to be interviewing John Juncker. As he mentioned, he's the instructor for the new Ready, Set, Go Global Navigation class. Just to let you know, that class is going to take place, the first one, on Tuesday, July 27th. Registration's now open, and you can find out a lot more information at www.localizationinstitute.com. Let's throw to that video now. And here we go.
Hi, Ulrich.
Good to see you again. Thanks for doing a new course for us. It's about global navigation, right? Why should I care?
Why should you care? Well, if you fail to get global navigation right, you risk losing thousands, perhaps millions of dollars that you've invested in localizing your websites. In fact, what I often say to a lot of organizations is, that old adage, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And companies put a lot of effort and a lot of money into localizing their websites. And oftentimes people can't find them. They visit the .com website, for example. They struggle to navigate to those localized websites. There are so many tools at your disposal to make this a more seamless and user-friendly experience. And that's what this program is about. It's a deep dive into the best practices and some of the tools and technologies that whether you're a marketer, a web team, UI team, can implement to improve the user experience for visitors, regardless of their language and regardless of where they come from.
You've been doing this for a while, correct?
Many years, yes. I have been focused on, well, Byte Level Research was founded in 2000, and I've really focused heavily on global navigation over the years and have helped a lot of organizations improve traffic. And they've told me that traffic to the localized websites have improved anywhere from 15% to 40% or more. And that is a real tangible result. And what I like to emphasize is it doesn't have to be something that you have to hire a vendor to implement. A lot of companies realize this, just making a few minor tweaks can make a big difference. Yeah.
So it is not understanding the issue.
Yes.
Is a key part. Fixing it is usually not that complicated once you understand what the challenges are.
Absolutely. It's not, sometimes the fixes can be more significant, perhaps if you're going to invest in country codes, perhaps if you have to really evangelize and lobby the global web team to improve the global navigation UI. It can be a longer term project. But often these areas get overlooked because there usually isn't one person in charge of global navigation or multilingual navigation. There are people that are in charge of the global website and then people in charge of the localized websites, but it's in the intersection that sometimes the ball gets dropped. And so that's why this program is not designed just for a designer or a marketer. It's intended for everybody because it often takes a team approach to solve these challenges.
To get this together. So this is going to be a 2-hour class. If someone signs up, what can they expect in those 2 hours?
Well, in 2 hours, I am going to devote at least 90 minutes to the lecture portion, and you're going to learn the elements that go into creating a successful global gateway strategy. And they may be technologies, user interface elements. So you're going to get well versed on all of that and how to make the best use of them. And then finally, what I want you to do, what I want you to take away from it is a customized global gateway for your organization, because no two companies are going to have to take the same approach. It depends on how many sites you support, the goals that you have internally. And so the goal, I'm going to have a template that you can take away.
Oh, really?
And use that as a starting point for developing your own customized global gateway.
So in a way, the title that we're giving this new series, Ready, Set, Go, totally confirms your is in line with your approach. By the end of this 2-hour session, people should be able to go and make some major improvements to their global navigation.
Absolutely. And I can't promise you're going to be able to implement these immediately, but I can promise you that you will be able to make a more informed take a more informed approach to solving these problems. And really what's important here is, and I cover all the elements, the elements of global navigation, of global SEO, and you're going to understand all that. But what's also important, and probably even more important, is learning how to evangelize within your organization, to educate teams, because it's often very difficult for people to really understand what it's like for someone who may not speak English natively to arrive at a .com site that's only in English, and then to somehow find their way to their localized website. And so this is, hopefully this program will help you do a better job of opening your colleagues' eyes to these challenges, and just doing a better job of making your website more user-friendly for everybody.
Right. John, you have helped some pretty big brands achieve that goal. Can you mention any that, or you?
Well, I can say that companies that I've spoken to and worked with over the years are many of the most recognized global brands.
Right.
Companies like a Google or a Philips, or go to my website, you'll see a long list of websites.
Oh, right, great, yeah.
But I will say that when I work with these companies, what I've taken away is what goes into this program is what I've learned. The challenges that these individuals at these companies face. I'm always thinking about how do I help people overcome these challenges, because the assumption often is that these large global brands have somehow figured it out perfectly. And they might be better than most, and some are, based on, say, the report card that I publish annually. But even when I talk to these people, they're always struggling to get better. And there's challenges they face internally. And so there's no one perfect website or company out there. We're all on this journey. And so what I really want to convey in this program and to you is that you have to enjoy the journey. And it really is. Right. It is an ongoing process, because we're all learning. The internet is changing it's seemingly month to month in terms of how different governments manage their internets, new technologies in terms of mobile apps and standards developments. And so that is why the global gateway strategy has to be nimble, and it's going to evolve as your company evolves.
Good. Well, we're at the end of our time, John. Thanks very much. I think your enjoy the journey fits really well with the theme of global navigation. So thanks for doing that. And I look forward to attending your first class.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you, Lord.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks for that insightful interview with John.
You're welcome.
And that's the first in our Ready, Set, Go. Will there be more of these classes of this format?
Absolutely. There'll probably be at least 10 to 15 classes looking at core competencies in localization, building teams, quality, internationalization, and so on, all aiming at, you don't have a lot of time, you don't have maybe even the patience to go out on the internet where all of that information is, but it's often with a slant, a bias, and you don't maybe know the source of the information. We fill that gap by vetting the instructor. These are people that I know to be really, really good at what they do. They are independent and they're good at teaching. So the 2 hours you'll be spending will be very, very worth your while.
Great. And we're looking forward to that first class. It again takes place on Tuesday, June 27th. Just to let you know that there is an early bird price available. The full price is $300 and the early bird is $275, and that's available through July 6th. So please visit our website for more on that. Next up, switching gears, we'll now look at our masterclass program, which these courses are generally 4 sessions long, between 60 and 90 minutes per session. So you're looking at a deeper look on these types of classes. And our next new class comes in the form of quality management. It's called the Quality Management Masterclass, and our instructor is Ava Klaudiniova. And we have an interview ready here with Ulrich and Ava. So let's go to that. And
hi, Ulrich. Good to see
you. Good to see you again, and excited that you'll be teaching a class for us.
I am.
I know you've been, you started out in teaching and did many things in between. What is it about teaching? Why do you teach?
I think I was born to do that. My mom was a teacher her whole life, and
oh, really?
I must have inherited the gene. I've wanted to be a teacher since I was 12. I actually graduated from an institution, from a university in Slovakia that prepares future teachers. I graduated with a degree in foreign language teaching. And I was teaching at the university for a few years before I came to America and got my translation degree from the Middlebury Institute in Monterey.
Right.
So,
so now you're back. You've come full circle after working for some of the world's largest corporations. You're back where you started out, and judging by how you appear in this video, very happy about doing what you're doing.
Yes. Right. It's great to be able to combine 2 of my passions, the one for teaching and the one for localization, into one single job. Right. So that's why I really enjoy what I'm doing.
What you'll be teaching for us is quality management. What is it that makes your class special? And when we discussed the parameters for this class, you made a point about saying, let's call it quality management. I don't like calling it QA. Why is that? Why is there a difference, and what makes your class special?
So it really depends on how you're looking at things. If you go really formal and you look at the standard definition of ISO of quality management, then quality management is part of quality assurance. But that's not how we look at things in the industry. For us, QA is one part of a much bigger strategy full of processes and strategic approaches that we called quality management. That's how I'm approaching this class as well. It's not there, we will be covering in one session quality assurance and what it entails and how to set up different models for a proper QA program. But that's just one session out of 4. Most of the class is focused on building the strategy, building the processes, and adapting different models to your particular business case.
Mm-hmm. Have you found that, should people expect that these models differ widely, that they really, customization for a particular company's needs is part of the game plan?
Definitely. You can't apply one model to every company because different companies are at different levels of localization maturity. But that's why this class will teach you how quality management evolves through the different stages of localization maturity, what you should do in each stage, and what is the holy grail, which in my opinion is quality enablement, that you can achieve by going through the stages. And I will offer different types of models that are customizable, as well as an overarching framework for a quality management strategy that is very comprehensive, and each company can pick and choose which parts they need to develop, which parts they already have, and which parts they need to plan for.
Great. You mentioned the term that I'm not familiar with, but then I'm no expert in this area, quality enablement. What is quality enablement?
It's actually a term that I started using when I developed a quality evolution model for one of the companies that I work for. I borrowed it from software development, actually. It's a term that denotes that if you want to have good quality of the final product, you have to start with managing the quality before the actual work even starts. You have to plan for all the different stages, and you have to enable people doing the work to give you as high a quality as possible. And that's a proactive strategic approach. While most companies look at quality retroactively, okay, we've done the work, it's not great, so let's look for the mistakes and let's fix them. And that's not very sustainable. It costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, and you never really fix usually the overarching issues. So in the strategy that I will show the students of this class, quality management will start at the content creation of the English content.
Oh, very interesting.
It goes through the whole life cycle and beyond.
Reminds me not to go into that, but I heard a long time ago a presentation by Harley Davidson basically presenting the same challenge, that their motorcycles were in had very poor quality, and they had basically taken them at the end of the production line and then fixed what was wrong with them, which was very expensive and unsatisfactory. And then they also redesigned it. So right from the beginning, they traced it back and said, you know, this screw is missing. How could it happen that this screw was never inserted on the assembly line? So it sounds like you did that with quality. Very interesting, fascinating. I think we're almost out of time. So let me ask you one final question. Is there one common misperception about quality that you could share just as a final tidbit of information?
Actually, I have several, but if I have to choose just one, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that quality is a linguistic function. But we have to realize that unless you're working for a government or a non-profit, localization is there to support the business. And what's the purpose of the business? To make money. So you have to look at quality as a business function, not just as a linguistic function. And that's another big mistake that many companies make. And in my class, I will give you several examples about how you can look at the quality as a business function and implement the right strategies, processes, and approaches that allow you to still maintain very high quality, the exact type of quality that your end customers are expecting from you, while saving time and money, two of the most limited resources that we always have in the localization industry.
Fabulous. Well, I'm so glad we'll be offering this class coming soon this summer. Thanks very much for the interview. And yeah, I look forward to develop maybe some other classes with you.
Me too. That would be
Take
great.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Great. We're really excited for this new quality management masterclass, and we'll be announcing. Oh, sorry about that. I had some background noise there as the video tried to keep playing. Wanted to say that we're really excited for this new quality management masterclass. We'll be announcing dates and opening registration soon. We do already have a save a seat sign up. If you're interested and you want, you can go to our website and sign up and save your seat now. So next up, we're gonna,
Alex,
yes.
Just a moment. Earlier, you misspoke. You mentioned that the global navigation will start in June. It will be July.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, correct. July 27th on that one. So
all right.
Sorry for misspeaking there. Great. So our next interview, we're turning our focus to another very well-received course called the Global Language Strategy Masterclass, and that's with instructor Melissa Biggs from Locale Solutions. And the feedback that we received on this course was phenomenal. It is a bit more of an advanced class designed for localization managers who are working on developing truly a global language strategy. So let's go to that interview. I'm thrilled to be here today with Melissa, instructor for the Global Language Strategy Masterclass. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm just great. It's nice to be into summer weather and to be out and about a little bit and seeing people again.
Absolutely. I think we're all feeling that. So we launched your Global Language Strategy Masterclass earlier this spring and had a really great turnout. Melissa, I should mention, is a partner at Locale Solutions and has been working with us on this class. And the first session had 11 students from all across the globe. And Melissa, I wonder if I could ask you, what surprised you most about that first class, and who were the people who were taking the course with you?
Great question. The class went really well. It really exceeded my expectations. The class was originally designed to have a very wide scope for participants. So we were looking at having this class available for people who did product management, who worked in marketing organizations, as well as sales and other areas cross company, not just specifically within a localization function. What the members that we had in this first class were mainly people who were engaged in localization and globalization within their companies. But what was really surprising and great to see was the range of companies that we had in the class. We had everywhere from nonprofits to startups to more mature enterprises. So it was a fantastic combination of participants who were at many different stages of looking at their overall strategy as well as their language strategy.
And I remember from some of the conversations in class that people's own backgrounds and experience were contributing to the way that you formulated and the topics that you used on. Do you find that it was applicable and valuable for all of these wide-ranging industries levels?
Yes, I really believe so, because basically what we tried to do, which has really never been done before, and I had this feedback from a number of the people in the classes, there isn't a class about this particular topic anywhere. There is not much that's written about this particular topic of language strategy. So techniques, best practices, we were able to bring so much of that together by the questions that different participants had and the types of issues that they were confronting in their companies. It was really a fantastic way to focus in on particular problems while still looking at the larger landscape behind what is affecting a language strategy.
And do you find that some of those pitfalls and mistakes and also best practices apply again across all of these different disciplines? Are there some of those, that you can think of that, people maybe don't expect to encounter, but, this is a pitfall that almost every global company comes across?
Yes, absolutely. I think people come in thinking, well, I've got this set of languages that I'm already thinking about or have in place that we're going to produce our content and our products using, and basically they start to see, oh, maybe I don't have the right technologies. My processes may be not quite up to speed with what I'm going to have to produce for the various languages that we've chosen. Or maybe I'm going down the wrong path and I don't even have the background material that I need, the data to show me that these markets are actually going to be useful and bring in revenue for our company and make a business case.
Well, I'm very excited to start the next class with you. It begins already on June 14th. It runs through June 24th, and there's a lot more information available, and you can register now on the Localization Institute website. It was such a pleasure to work with you on that first masterclass. I'm just so excited for our next session, and I look forward to seeing you on June 14th, Melissa.
Well, thank you. And just want to make one more comment that the students all came back with a similar thing is not to come into the class with a lot of expectations that you're going to come out with a template because every company is so unique. There is no template. There are best practices. There are some standards that you should follow, but it's open. It's for you. These are just ways to enable you to move forward. It's not something where it's a cookie cutter.
Right. And global language strategy, there is no silver bullet. It needs to be tailored for each individual. And again, that's where the learning with the students was so interesting as I saw them kicking ideas between each other. So again, really excited for your next class. And thanks for taking time with it, Melissa.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Alex. It's great to be working with everyone.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
And as mentioned, Melissa's class starts about 10 days from now. There are still some seats available. So if you're interested in that, you can email me with any questions at alex@localizationinstitute.com. But we're very excited to launch Melissa's next class. Our next masterclass that we're going to shine the focus on is one of our first ones, instructor Francesca Sorrentino, and it's the game localization masterclass. And we've run this class twice already, and a third session is scheduled for later in September. I believe it's September 6th through the 9th. And let's check out the interview with Francesca. Just a second, sorry. Here we are. I'm happy to be Francesca Sorrentino, our instructor for the Game Localization Masterclass. Francesca is also the conference manager for Game Global. Francesca, how are you today?
I'm good, Alex. How are you? Thank you for having me here.
It's great to see you. And my, what a busy week we have with LoCWorld coming up this week. So my first question for you today is, one of the unique perspectives of your masterclass is that you're coming from a background on both the client side and the service provider side of the game localization industry. Could you talk a little bit about how these experiences on both sides have helped informed this new masterclass that you're teaching?
Sure. So I think it was very useful for me to be on both sides because you can learn a lot of different things. And when you are on the client side, so in a developer company, you can really learn how games are made, and you can go in depth with the whole localization process. So if there is something you don't know, you can always ask other teams. And so I learned a lot this way. Whereas when you are on the service provider side, you have a whole lot of constraints, especially in terms of budget and resources. And that makes you, very, very effective and super efficient And also it's gonna, you know, you're gonna need to find sometimes very, very creative solutions in order to, you know, make the project happen.
And I think it's been extremely valuable. Our students have been able to, you know, ask you questions again about both sides and the experience and how it's different. One other thing about the class that is really exciting is how interactive it is. And, you know, throughout the class sessions, I've found that you've had to stop and answer questions to a lot of students. And we've also had a very lively Q&A at the end of every session, often going longer than the scheduled time. Can you talk a little bit about how, as teaching, this is an introductory level course, but certainly you're going deeper than the surface level. And some of this stuff does get technical pretty quickly. How do you kind of balance, you know, doing an introductory course, but also going deeper and being able to answer these questions for students all around the world?
Yeah, so I think when you have some experience in the field, you tend to you know, give some things for granted. And I do mention a lot of things and a lot of words and principles of game localization that are very straightforward to me and very logical, but I had to learn about those during my career. So I think it's important for the class to be interactive so I can stop and explain some of the concepts more in depth. One of the concepts that really needs some explaining is internationalization, for example, because it's quite technical and it's not very straightforward, especially if you come from the translation side of things. And yes, and I think another aspect that needs some more explaining is when we talk about roles and stakeholders. Students tend to get very curious and sometimes very worried when they don't understand something. So it's always worth it to stop and give some more detail.
And the feedback we've received from our students is just that you've been so great in being open and approachable and you know, willing to answer questions. So we thank you for going above and beyond in that. My last question is, you're also the conference manager for Game Global. I know you've been working tirelessly these last couple of years to create kind of a forum and a safe space for people who are both the veterans in the industry, but also new people coming in who are looking for careers and to find ways into the game localization industry. Can you talk about why the events like Game Global and also why this masterclass, why you find it so valuable and important for the industry in terms of incubating new talent?
Yeah, so when you attend Game Global, as you were saying, it's very open and safe space where everyone can discuss their experience. And I think as a newcomer or as a new starter in the industry, you get a very broad perspective of what the industry looks like, because you have both the developers there that have their own internal localization departments, and you have the service providers, you have freelancers, you have technical service providers. So it provides a broad overview of what the possible roles in the industry are as well, aside from the fact that you can learn a lot of things about the latest processes and the latest challenges in the industry. And that's also what I'm trying to reflect in the game localization masterclass. So I have learned a lot during my years in the company, in the industry, but I'm still learning with Game Global, and I try to reflect that in the masterclass as well.
And it's a constant growing experience for everyone in the industry. And thanks again for taking time to talk with me today. I'm really excited. Our next Game Localization Masterclass will be held on September 6th through the 9th. There's more information on that on the Localization Institute website. Also, Game Global has a webinar coming up. Do you want to mention that?
Correct. So we have a webinar coming up this month on June 23rd. It's going to be about UX, the psychology of UX, user experience in video games, and UX writing, which has, it's very close to localization because it's about content designing. And also we are working on the next Game Global Digital Summit that is going to be in October 5th and 6th.
Well, thanks again for taking time today, Francesca, and we'll look forward to seeing you later this month at the webinar, and good luck this week with LocWorld.
Thank you. Good luck to you too.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. So Francesca's class has been running, I think we've held it the first time was back in November of last year. Then we held it again in March. And we've had enough demand that we're holding again this fall. And there is registration is open now. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. Next up, we're going to turn to our instructor, Karen Combe, who teaches the Localization Management Masterclass. And that's actually the first class that masterclass that we debuted last July. Ulrich, how did the first masterclass come about, and how did it spawn so many other initiatives?
Well, thanks for asking. I had heard that Karen Combe was retiring after about 20 years at PTC in Boston. And so I called her during COVID already, saying goodbye and good luck and what are you going to be doing? And that kitchen table to kitchen table conversation involved in, would you ever be interested in sharing the experience of managing a very sophisticated localization operation. Karen's title was VP localization. And she said yes. And then, a few months later, we were able to just offer, and I was so delighted and was very pleased then when within a week after the announcement, the 18 seats we had made available sold out. So
great. And so we have an interview here with Karen, and we're going to go to that now. I'm excited to be here. Karen Combe recently retired from PTC and our instructor for the Localization Management Masterclass. Karen also served last month as the moderator for our Localization Management Roundtable. Welcome, Karen. How are you today?
Pretty good. Thanks, Alex.
Well, thanks for taking time to talk with me. So we started our whole masterclass series last summer, back in July, and the response so far has been really amazing. I know we sold out the first two classes back to back, and we've held the class a couple times since. A total of 43 students have already completed the course with you. Curious, can you share a couple of the high points from the experience so far of teaching these students from all across the globe?
Well, one thing that particularly struck me was the huge variety of students that we had, both in terms of their global locations. We had people from New Zealand, Japan, China, Brazil, Europe, and all across the US. I mean, it was absolutely astonishing that people were able to, I mean, because the classes are virtual at the moment, they were able to tune in and participate. So that was interesting and a little surprising to me. But the other thing is that we had people both from the buyer and seller sides, and we had people in a lot of different roles. So we had loc PMs from both sides. We had engineers, people in charge of internationalization, in charge of QA. We had localization managers who were managing departments, some who had been doing it for a while and some who were just starting to do it. And so they all brought different points of view, different levels of knowledge that we were able to tap into. But also the classes give them the opportunity to take a sort of overview of what their jobs are, what their jobs might be, or how they fit into the grand scheme of things. And so I think there was benefit for all of them in being able to look at different ways of thinking about localization and how to manage it. So it was a terrific experience for me, actually.
Great. And as we talk about all of people with different backgrounds and different roles and coming from different regions of the world, Are there some common challenges that you find that localization managers kind of everywhere are facing that maybe they didn't expect when they enter the class?
Well, it's a fairly common theme for localization, especially on the buyer side, to want their critical contribution to the company to be recognized. And often it's not. Often they're seen as just operations. And that's of interest to the vendors, of course, to the LSPs, because they are dependent on the organization inside whatever company they're serving to have some ability to control their work, and therefore their ability to control the LSP's work in terms of timing and scale and all that sort of thing. And so what a lot of people don't realize is that they need to manage up to the executive level. And one of the things that we tried to do in the classes was to give very specific examples of what the possible outcomes would be if they effectively did manage up, and more specifically, how to do that with some guidelines and examples of what they could do in order to manage those types of relationships, to initiate and manage those types of relationships to benefit the overall localization organization and function in the company.
So let's take a closer look at that. Out of the masterclass, which is in essence you teaching students, we also restarted the Localization Management Roundtable last month. What are some of the key takeaways, and why is the peer-to-peer forum so valuable?
Leading on from actually what we were just talking about in terms of the classes, there were a couple of important themes in the roundtable. One is the importance of aligning for a localization manager to align with the mission critical initiatives and strategy of the company that they're working for in order to be seen to be an integral part of the company's mission and strategy. And we talked specifically about how to do that with wonderful examples from two of our advisory board members about their journeys to that end, and exactly what they did and exactly what others can take away from that and put into practice themselves. And then we also talked about the changing skill sets that are needed in any globalization or localization department, partly because of the overall trend towards digital transformation. Now, often those terms refer to marketing, but really it's a much broader trend in business, and localization needs to be a part of that. And in fact, often we are starting in R&D, and so that requires somewhat different skills, this level of automation that we're moving towards. So it requires perhaps more engineering skills, a different kind of project management, and those sorts of things. So we talked about that at some length, and that leading also to career goals. So overall, I mean, people had a lot to share, a lot to say, and it was a very interactive and I thought beneficial discussion among all the participants.
And as I recall, both days we were struggling to even find an endpoint because people could have talked all day long. And so that's exciting, and it makes us excited to, later in the summer and probably early fall, we will hold another one of these virtual roundtables. We'll also schedule your class again. Karen, it's such a pleasure to talk with you today, and thanks so much for working with us at the Localization Institute.
Thanks, Alex.
Have a great day. It's so much fun working with Karen. This roundtable last month came together with the help of a great advisory board, but really it's Karen's leadership along with Ulrich that made that such a valuable event, I think. And we had a great turnout. Over 20 people showed up and discussed, and we'll be actually announcing another roundtable very soon. We plan to do these maybe 3 times or 4 times a year. So keep an eye on our website for news on the next roundtable as well. Our next interview is with our instructor, Dr. Pong Wang of the Machine Translation Masterclass. And we'll also be announcing her most recent class just finished up last month, and we'll be announcing new dates for this class very soon. Let's take a look at the interview with Peng. I'm happy to the class. It's just in Pong Wang, our instructor in Translation Masterclass. Dr. Wang, how are you today?
I'm very good. And hello, Alex. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you again. We've held your class twice this spring now, and it's been very exciting to me to see students from across the globe and from many different backgrounds and experience levels coming to your course. And I think what makes it applicable to such a wide range of people is that you take a very holistic approach to examining machine translation and kind of the relationship between humans and machine. I think a lot of people are often intimidated as they see machine translation adopted so quickly. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And like you said, and we have a lot of people from all over the world. They have different background knowledge and they have different understanding of machine translation. Not to say they have different attitude toward machine translation. But I should let you know that no matter what kind of technology it is a tool for us, no more, no less. So because machines can do a lot of things, but it does not know why it needs to do that. So it is human beings who give the meaning and purposes to machines. But what we really need to focus on is how to communicate with machine so that we can leverage the computer power in our daily work or daily life. So that's the focus of this machine translation masterclass. And I put a lot of efforts in helping students understand the fundamentals of machine translation and how it works so that they will be able to ask the right question and give the right instructions to machine.
And people have been very happy with the class and with the ability to also meet one-on-one with you. It's been great. You've even offered office hours outside of the class. And I think that's been really valuable for people who maybe sometimes we get very technical in the curriculum of the course. And it's been great that you've been willing to even meet one-on-one with people to answer their questions. One of the subjects that I think is often kind of confusing is where does machine translation kind of fit within the bigger localization project management ecosystem?
Yes. Firstly, I really enjoyed working with my students and like you mentioned, office hours and such, some things like that. And it's always, I feel so happy when I see that they start to absorb the knowledge from the class and start to implement it. And regarding your question about the relationship between machine translation and the overall CAT tool environment, and I think I should say that machine translation is not just what you have seen on the Google Translate interface page. There are a lot of things happening behind it. For example, machine translation also have sentence segmentation, also have terminology extraction. So such kind of technology. In terms of technology, everything for us, methodology, technology seems very similar, but they might take different form. So this course is trying to help you to analyze the relationship between machine translation, different elements, and overall CAT tool environment. You can see a lot of overlapping areas, and I will do my best to help you realize what they are similar, what they are not, so that you can make best use of both systems without generating a lot of waste.
Well, we sure are appreciative that you took the time to talk with us today. We've been keeping you very busy. LokeWorld has. It's been a thrill to work with you on the Edu and Loc, our academic initiative. And I know you're also speaking here at LokeWorld Wide 44. Before I let you go, I just want to say that I'm very excited to teach the next class with you. And it's always fun to see what group of new students we have that comes into the next class, isn't it?
Me too, me too. Like EduLog, like machine translation masterclass, the spirit is it's not something that I myself can do. We need a group who share the same interest and passion. We can do things together. And all kinds of forms, be it like forum, be it like discussions, be it like conferences and like class, it's a kind of communication platform for us to achieve and to share passions and to do things together.
And that really encapsulates why I so enjoy working with you. And I think our students, it's reflected in the feedback that we've gotten after the class. It's just an enriching experience taking this class. And I really look forward to teaching that and hosting the next one with you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks, Dr. Wang. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
You're on mute, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. I realize we're a few minutes over on our session. It is the lunchtime right now, so fear not, you're not missing any other sessions. We just have one more interview with you, and is with the great Tim Arata, our instructor for the Localization Selling the Buyer's Guide Masterclass. And let's watch that now. To be here today with Tim Arata, our instructor for the Localization Selling the Buyer's Guide Masterclass. Hi, Tim. How are you today?
Great, Alex. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for being here. Tim is a partner at Locale Solutions, and his fellow partner, Melissa Biggs, is also our instructor for the Global Language Strategy Masterclass. We're thrilled to work with both of them, great folks, and have put together two amazing masterclasses. Tim, to dive into your class is probably the most interactive class that we offer. Many of our classes have as many as 20 students, but your class, we are limiting to 8 students per session. And it's been great to see. We've gotten a diversity of people from all around the world, lots from Europe, several from South America, also people from large enterprise and also from small companies. Yours being the most interactive and small discussion, it's been amazing to see how you've actually modified the course based on that interaction with your students. Can you talk a little bit about how the students actually inform the material and the curriculum that you teach?
Sure, Alex, and hey, it's really good to be here. Good to be chatting with you about this. Yes, we have done 3 classes. Each one of those classes has been a little bit different, and it's out of necessity. Really, when we brought this class into the Localization Institute, it was mostly aimed at sort of larger vendors. But then given the audience and given the international diversity of the audience, every session required change. I could find something from the previous session that required tweaking that I could really add more value to the next session. So that's been really critical. In terms of the diversity of the students and how that's impacted it, it has become even more enjoyable to me and a lot more interesting for the students and just fun for the students as well. When, despite that difference in the size of the company they're selling for, or despite where they're geographically located or their backgrounds, that we can still find those common threads, those common challenges. And once those come out, the class really takes off and can go down any number of turns. So that's a real, that's a real advantage to the diversity that we're seeing now in the class.
Can you talk a little bit about these common challenges and how do they seem to apply again, regardless of the size of the company? There are some key things that you teach people about what to think about that they're maybe not thinking about in the right way when they approach dealing, with vendors.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. So the class, it's 2 parts, and you've written a lot about it. We don't have to talk about it, but the first one is, is understanding the buyer themselves a little bit better. And then the second part is after you've, gotten a handshake and the agreement, what happens after that and how the buyer influences that as well. So it's really in that particular framework that they all face the same challenges, but in a slightly different way. And what's really fun in the class is we can say, yes, I see this, or a student would say, I see it, but it looks like this to us. And another might say, yes, I see it, and it looks similar to that, but different. And then you could still begin to bounce ideas off of each other, and the students actually wind up helping each other as well. But very satisfying, very satisfying.
And in a way, it's actually, the experience is amplified by people coming from different backgrounds. You know, as we first approached it and looked at the companies, I remember we were thinking that they were, you know, one was very big and one was very small. Would they even work? But it almost opens more doors as people see what it's like for a different type of company.
It does. In fact, the last class, there were people there from gaming companies. There were people there from sort of video-only companies. But finding those common threads was something that we were really able to do and benefit all the students while doing so.
Well, it's been a real pleasure helping with this class with you. I know that I've seen more interaction in your class than any of the others, and the feedback that we've gotten has been, again, outstanding. People finding it not just valuable, but also making connections with their fellow classmates that I think will last a very long time, not just on business, but on a personal level. And that's been really gratifying for me.
Yeah, it has been. It's so nice to work with the Localization Institute because philosophically we're in lockstep. And what I mean by that is we're both only interested in providing value. So what do I say to that? You're talking about the reviews and all that. If someone's interested in taking the class, please don't take my word for it. We've done 3 classes now with the Localization Institute. We can put you in touch with previous students and you can judge yourself whether or not the class is right for you. And I think that speaks volumes about what we're mutually trying to accomplish here.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me today, Tim. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to producing your next class with you.
Likewise, Alex. Thanks for all you do for us.
And to touch on the last thing that Tim said there, and this would apply to all of our classes, if you want to find out more and you'd really like to know a little bit about what the experience is like for students, we'd be happy to connect you with a student who could answer more about what that class was like and what they learned and what they took away. So again, working on this masterclass program with you, Ulrich, this last year has been really fun and exciting, and I can't wait. We're going to have a whole bunch of new classes coming out too. We've got the Ready, Set, Go coming out next month, the first one of those. But you know, talk for just a second, Ulrich, about what it's like and how you choose these instructors. Like, why do you like working with these people?
Well, you know, this goes really. Thanks for doing these interviews. You're just really great in relating and bringing out some of the unique qualities in all of these instructors. Creating these classes really goes back to about 25 years ago when I went and started the Localization Institute after being both on the vendor side, but mainly as an international sales and marketing manager who had to localize to succeed in global markets. And, you know, I encountered so much, you know, back then, 25 years ago, lack of experience, lack of knowledge. People made costly mistakes. And back during that period was born the idea, you know, as we learn, you know, best practices are being established. It's clearly, there are better ways of doing certain tasks. And I founded the Institute, and ever since then, I've been trying to bring people independent, not somewhat commercially. Let me say just something about that. It's been, to me, maybe because I operate like that, it's much easier if I know if someone is giving me advice, independent advice, that they are not benefiting from whether I act on their advice or not. Makes it much more valuable, that information. So yes, I will talk, let's say, to a car salesperson, but you know, if I talk to someone at Ford or BMW or Honda, I don't expect them to recommend one of their competitors. That would be unreasonable, right? So if I do talk to lots of different people, I need to do the sorting myself. That's time consuming. What we offer at the Localization Institute is we use our knowledge and our context to bring you people like the ones you just saw. who have been doing this for many years, who are not ego-driven either. That is another thing. I don't want people who use the, like being in a teaching position as grabbing attention. I want people who are passionate about localization. They loved what they're doing, and they're just very eager to share what they learned with others who are maybe not quite as advanced as they were. And so I think I'll leave it at that. And thanks, Alex.
You bet. And thank you, Ulrich. This has been fun today. There's more information on all these classes on the Localization Institute website. Email me at alex@localization if you have any questions. And as we go out, Ulrich, I know you said, what if someone has an idea for another class or a topic?
Send it to you or send it to me. That's many classes, many of the things we've done in those 25 years started with someone saying, why don't you do couldn't you please do this or that, whether it's a round table, a class, a certification. So we are always very open looking into it. And thank you for being here today.
Thanks everyone for being here, and we're excited. There'll be new classes to announce soon. So thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of Loc World 44.
See you at lunch.
Bye-bye.